Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard and I'm making this video for this second week of our beginning English course for the month of June in the summer of 2020. Before I do anything else, I need to get some better lighting in here. I didn't realize how dark it was. So let me go ahead and see if this helps out. All right, let's see. All right, much better. All right, good. More natural light here as well. Of course, I'm sending this video to let you know what it is that you will need to do for the upcoming week. Many of you have already done certain assignments that have already been due. The template for MLA 8th header, picture, and title, and you doing a example one of your own, the one that you will hopefully do for the rest of this class and any class that you're asked to do MLA 8 for, was already due, as was your first of the rhetorical mode paragraphs. The illustrative paragraph was due this morning at 8 a.m. You do have a journal, the very first journal, that is still due tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So please make sure you have that done and completed before it is due. My advice is get it done tonight before you go to bed. I'm getting a feeling that maybe as the ones who are going to do it have already done it, because the same amount of a number of people who did complete it, the essay, sorry, not the essay, the paragraph, rhetorical mode paragraph, same amount of people have finished the journal. So that makes me think that's just going to be the amount of people that are going to do their work, and that the others, some have already asked for withdrawal, some have been withdrawn already. And just to let you know, a few of you did not look even or hardly looked at the course in the first 4 days. The way this type of class work out on online courses is, if by the end of the 4th day on a summer course like this, and sometimes you get a few weeks if it's a full extended semester, but after a certain amount of time, if I check and I have the ability to check on your Canvas, see the type of activity that you've done or lack of activity that you've done, if I can tell you haven't done anything, and in some cases hasn't even looked at certain elements of the class, I'm mandated to drop you. You are given a withdrawal at a NG grade, which stands for, well, basically never attended grade. One of you did ask me to let it in, and then I decided I would, but you will then have to make up all the work that you have missed. We only have certain ways of doing these type of classes online. So when they tell us, hey, we must do something, we must. So that was mandatory. That wasn't something I voluntarily did just because I was mandated that if you did not have a certain amount of things looked at by Thursday the 4th, and I gave until right before 5 p.m., then you were drawn. I think 2 or 3 of you were. One of you has been let back in. But you have to get the work done when you get done. In fact, if it doesn't get done at a certain time, or if you miss a certain amount of the work, you get withdrawn anyways. Because if you miss more than a week's worth of work, you're withdrawn no matter what. And at that point, I'm being nicer than normal considering the circumstances. In general, I wouldn't let that one student back in, but I'm trying to be nicer because of the pandemic and because of this being an odd situation. Many of you may have wanted a physical class, and because of all this, you got an online one. So I'm being a little more flexible than I normally would be. So while it's good that I'm being that way, don't take that as a, hey, we can run them over thing, because you'll learn pretty quickly that doesn't work with me. In fact, it usually causes me to do quite the opposite. So when you're asked to do certain work, make sure the work is done. If you haven't done any work up to this point, do get the journal done. You can't make up any old stuff, and you will have a nice solid amount of absences due to the work that has been done, alongside with a 0 in the illustrative paragraph. But you can still get the journal done to at least salvage some of the grades within the journal realm. And then you need to make sure you do any and all the other work, because not only because of the absence, but let's say you're one of the students who didn't do the illustrative paragraph. Well, you basically have to perfect every single thing the rest of the way in this class just to get an A in the course. Pretty much you're eliminated from getting an A if you didn't do that first essay. Or sorry, first paragraph. Sorry, I say essay because I generally teach courses that are all essay based, Comp 1, Comp 2, World Lit, American Lit. Beginning, as you notice, only has paragraphs. You've already had one paragraph that was due yesterday. You'll have another paragraph up and coming that'll be due next Tuesday early in the morning or in the morning. The lone essay in the course is what's going to be your final exam. And again, we'll go over more of that next week when we have the instructions and the work that we'll deal with that. But let's keep going bit by bit. You've already, the MLA 8th edition example of a header, page, and title, your header, page, and title is already due. The illustrative paragraph it was already due, so it's done. The journal is due tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So I want to make sure that you know that as far as what was supposed to be due. And then I also want to make sure you know of some of the other work that is up and coming due. You have an illustrative reading quiz. Now, that quiz is in your textbook. I'll go ahead and grab the textbook right now. Now, yours will look different because I have it instructor's edition. This is the instructor's edition. You have a hardback copy of it for your course. So I want to make sure it is definitely understood that this quiz is in your textbook. So what you are to do, and it says in the instructions for under your quiz itself. In fact, I'll go ahead and open that up on mine as well. And in the instructions where it says illustrative reading quiz, you click on that and it tells you turn in the answers for the illustrative reading quiz on pages 135 and 136 of chapter 8 in the textbook. So what you're going to do is turn to those pages, 135 and 136. Sorry, I have a lot of this paper here from prior classes. Normally, I would have given it to someone, but since the last semester ended the way it did, we were unable to. So you turn to chapter 8, and you turn to pages 135 and 136. And here we are. So you have a little paragraph that is middle to lower middle part of 135. And then you have the first question at the bottom of 135. And then 3 other questions on 136. Goes to about a little past the middle of that page. What you are to do is answer those questions. Now, you do not have to rewrite the whole question out. Just give me the answer with one exception. On number 2, where it says the things one to write, choose to marry, money, and the rest, job, sexual freedom. You might want to write that on or type that out on your sheet and then give the answer after that. In general, I don't want you rewriting the questions because the questions are in the textbook, but this will allow it to be clear to me when I'm grading it about what answer goes with what part of number 2. Whereas the other 2 parts, you just have simple answers, and therefore no need to have the extra stuff. You just put 1 and then you give your answer. 3 and then your answer. 4, give your answer. Although in 4 you do have 2 different parts, both the answer and in whether or not, for example, they're chronologically or spatially noted. So note that, then give the overall answer, and just to give you a heads up, be detailed in the answer. Don't just say yes, no. Whenever you're asked to expand on questions, you'd better expand on the answer. Actually, expand on the answer. When you give simplistic answers, because you don't want to take too much time, you're throwing points away. That question is asked that way for a reason. You're supposed to give as thorough an answer as possible. You give a simplistic answer, you're going to get a simplistic grade. So be aware of that. But like I said, on number 2, it has the subsets to it. Write the subsets, 1 to write, choose to marry, and the rest, and then put the answer. But you don't have to write the whole question on number 2. So I want to make sure that you knew that that is what you need to do. The due date, in the example, it has when I initially did this, and so it says 2019. Don't look at that. Look at when it says, when things are due, which for you, just to let you know, will be June the 12th at 8 a.m. I think I originally had it for June 11th. I'm going to give you all extra 24 hours simply because you had the time to do it. I don't feel totally right giving y'all less than, basically giving y'all less than 48 hours to get it done. So I'll give you a little more time than that. I don't mind the journal because you've had about a week to get that done. But I'll give you a little more time. So June 12th, 8 a.m., that's when the reading quiz is due. What you will do is you will type out the answers on Microsoft Word and then download them into the system like you download any and all of the work that you would turn in for this course. So make sure you've done that illustrative reading quiz. It is due June the 12th at 8 a.m. Make sure you follow the directions as they were given. Now, just to let you know, we've already moved past the illustrative rhetorical mode. You already read the chapter. You've already written the paragraph. That is now done. We're now moving on to the next rhetorical mode, which is the descriptive rhetorical mode, which is chapter 6. So you're to read chapter 6, the descriptive rhetorical mode, because then that will fill into the next of your paragraphs that you will write, the descriptive paragraph. Like the illustrative, you will choose your topic. And just to let you know, on the final exam, which will be a full-fledged narrative essay, you will also choose your topic. You get some guidance on your journals. You'll get no guidance on the actual rhetorical mode paragraphs or essay beyond the rhetorical mode itself. Now, whatever topic you want to choose needs to fit the descriptive rhetorical mode. A good way of doing that, again, I'm not going to tell you what to write, but if you want some guidance, here's the guidance. One, I'll also read the chapter, but if you want a little bit more in my own words. This can go in a couple different realms. If you want to do a strictly visual element, you can, but then you have to do what's called space order. Basically, start in a certain space in the visual element and then follow that certain space to an endpoint. So if it's just from, I don't know, I'm facing you, but from left to right to me, or whatever your left to right is, it goes from here to there as a space order. Or if you want to do around the room. So I'm looking at this corner and I look in front of me and then I look and then I turn around and then I keep turning around and I'm visually describing everything as I'm turning around. That's another thing you can do if you want to keep it strictly visual. But you also have the ability, if you want, to use the other senses. In fact, another way of doing a good descriptive is to use all 5 of the human senses if you have the ability to use them, plus what I call the extra sixth sense of emotional feeling. So what did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? What did you taste? What did you physically feel? And what did you emotionally feel? And to use as many of those elements in fully describing whatever it is that you wanted to describe. So you can do strictly visual, but if you do, it has to be a space order, or you can utilize all sensory detail or as much sensory detail as you have, or as much sensory detail as is actually needed for the actual thing. Sometimes taste and even smell don't always work. Though I will get in an argument with you for saying emotional feeling doesn't, because I've had enough arguments in physical classes with students who, the whole concept of catching feels being a negative thing is something that I will argue to death on. You need to have emotional feelings, even if you don't like them. They're not enjoyable. I can personally tell you that, yes, but you do have emotional feelings towards one another. It's going to be rather difficult for us to learn to love each other and live with each other if we want to block the emotional feelings. God knows we've been dealing with that a lot the last couple of weeks, and the ability to feel and emote towards a fellow human being. And it doesn't always have to be a love thing. It can be just love as far as relationship. It can be love as far as you being a human being, or at very least liking someone or not hating them in a sense. That is the emotional feeling. If we only see each other as visions on a screen, and we don't see each other's humanity, and that's that feeling, the emotional feeling towards someone else's human feeling, the empathy towards them, let me tell you now, nothing will get better. So yes, catch the feels even when they're as uncomfortable as possible. And if you catch the feels when it comes to whatever you're describing, use that and write about that as well. There is also another thing that you can do if you'd like to do what's called a process paper. A process paper also falls under descriptive in that you just tell how you do something. In particular, if you're taking this course because you have to as an online, not just because we're mandating it because of COVID, but let's say you're working a job. It just doesn't afford you the time, either the job by itself or the job with other responsibilities as a parent, as a loved one, as whatever. So that becomes almost a part of your life. Well, the process of how you do your job or how you do certain things can be something that you can write about. Go ahead and do that as well. These are all things that you can do, and that's as far as the guidance I'm willing to give you. The actual thing itself, that's up to you. Because I want you to be motivated to write this beyond just getting a good grade or making me happy or somebody else happy. You should do it as a means of expression, but utilizing the descriptive rhetorical mode. So read chapter 6, the descriptive rhetorical mode, and then work on that paragraph. And that paragraph is due June 16th, 9 a.m. So basically a week from today when the illustrative was due. So next Tuesday, 9 a.m., that's when that is. Also know that you have another journal that is due June the 17th at 8 a.m. So the very next morning, 8 a.m., you'll have another journal. The instructions are noted in the instructions of that journal, so make sure you do that. The very next morning, on June the 18th at 11 a.m., you will then have an online parts of speech quiz that is due. I do believe it is open right now. Let me look just to make sure I'm not lying to you. And I scroll down. In fact, let me go ahead and open it now. I think not that I intended to lie to you, but for some reason, this thing still doesn't open until like 2 days before. I mean, to be honest, you've already read the chapter on it. So as I'm about to open this thing right now, you can go ahead and get on it now. It's an online quiz that is a part through Canvas. So you'll get on Canvas, you'll click on this thing, and you'll do the quiz as it is set here. Let me do that. I think I accidentally clicked the wrong day because it was set for another weak for some reason. And there you go. You are now have access to the parts of speech quiz. You've already gone over the chapter. And of course, you can have the chapter out with you as you're doing the quiz if you'd like. It's more of a practical quiz than something that is like memorization of terms and whatnot. It's more about, okay, yeah, you need to learn the term, but then how to use the thing in the practical sense of the parts of speech. We're dealing with nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, all the others. So it is now open for you, so you can go ahead and make sure you can get onto that now, in fact. But it is due June 18th at 11 a.m. So you got a little bit of time, but you never want to wait too long, because if you wait too long, things fall by the wayside and don't get done, and then you're like, oh crap, and you're begging me for stuff. And again, I can only be nice so far. So make sure you get that done as soon as possible. Online Parts Speech Quiz, June 18th at 11 a.m. And then you also have the next of the grammar chapters that you need to go ahead and read, and that's chapter 19. Read chapter 19, dealing with phrases and clauses. And yes, you'll have a quiz that deals with that as well. That'll be the following week. So go ahead and read chapter 19, phrases and clauses. So let me go over again what all is due. Journal entry 1 is due tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So make sure you get done as soon as possible. Basically, get it done before you go to bed tonight. The illustrative reading quiz, June the 12th at 8 a.m. That again, the actual paragraph is on page 135, and then all the questions are on 135 and 136, so make sure you answer them. And as I said before, you don't have to rewrite the whole of the questions, just write the answer with one caveat. On number 2, make sure you note the little sub part and then the answer that connects to it so that I know which part goes to which part. You need to also read chapter 6, the descriptive rhetorical mode, and then work on the descriptive paragraph that is due June 16th at 9 a.m. So a week from today. Make sure that gets done. Journal entry 2 is due a week from tomorrow, June 17th at 8 a.m. So make sure that gets done. The instructions are apart once you click on journal entry 2. The online parts of speech quiz is due June the 18th at 11 a.m. I've just opened it up right now so that you can get it done now. You've already read the chapter. Go ahead and do the quiz. But you have until June 18th at 11 a.m. to get that done. And then read chapter 19, phrases and clauses, which will then lead you to the next of the grammar quizzes, which will be the following week. So make sure you get that done. So that is all that is up and coming. I should get to grading some of it today, maybe some of it tomorrow, and it should all be done by Thursday. In fact, to be completely honest, the way it's all going is I'll probably get to the MLA stuff, 8 stuff today. Probably, in fact, once I get done with this video. Tomorrow, I have a bunch of stuff going on, so I might not get to it too much, if any at all. Thursday is probably when I'll get to the rhetorical mode paragraphs. In fact, I'll probably get to the rhetorical mode paragraphs on Thursday because I can easily knock out the journals tomorrow, with the rhetorical mode paragraphs have a little more in-depth stuff that I have to deal with. So I will try to get anything and everything that has already been due or will be due tomorrow and get it graded before the end of business, I guess you'd call it, on Thursday. Again, tomorrow's a really busy day because I have multiple meetings and multiple things I have to go to, so there's a chance I won't get hardly anything done tomorrow. But I want to make sure you knew what was up and coming. Hope you're all doing well. With everything else going on, I had a tropical storm on top of it. My backyard's a disaster right now. I'm looking at part of it right now, in fact. I've got a fence to replace, or part of a fence to replace. So hopefully y'all made it out perfectly okay and everything's going well with you. Unless something unforeseen happens, I shouldn't have to do another video until next week. Hopefully I won't have to, but if y'all do have any questions, by all means, email me. Some of you have already asked to withdraw from the course. I've withdrawn you if you asked. One of you asked to be reinstated. I did reinstate you. Do know that if you don't have any work done, if you don't do the journal tomorrow and then you didn't do any of the other work already due, you can't miss any more work. If you miss any more work the rest of this class, you will be withdrawn. So make sure you get done what needs to get done. A couple of you have gotten a hold of me with some things that you're dealing with, and I answered you, and we can accommodate as much as we can accommodate. And again, I hope you're all doing well, and I will send another video another time.